I need you to stop what you're doing right now. Put down your phone, close your laptop, and listen to me, because what I'm about to tell you will shake you to your core. 3 days ago, I received a call that changed everything. The voice on the other end was trembling. Cash, they said. The records are out. All of them. 1,300 victims. And the photos. God, the photos. The line went dead. That was my introduction to the biggest cover-up in modern American history. A cover-up that reaches into the highest levels of our government, involves some of the most powerful people on the planet, and has been buried for over a decade. But today, that burial ground has been excavated. And what we found underneath, it's going to destroy everything you thought you knew about justice in America. Before I take you down this rabbit hole, before I show you evidence that will make your stomach turn and your blood boil, I need you to do something for me. If you believe that no one is above the law, if you believe that the truth matters more than political convenience, hit that subscribe button right now, because we're about to wage war against the most powerful criminal network in history, and I need an army of truth seekers standing with me. Now let me tell you about Jeffrey Epstein, but not the Jeffrey Epstein you think you know. You see, for years, we've been fed a sanitized version of this monster's story. We've been told he was a financier who got in over his head. We've been told he operated alone. We've been told that his death closed the book on his crimes. Every single one of those statements is a lie. And I should know, because I've spent the last 5 years tracking down every thread of this web, following every lead, and fighting every attempt to bury the truth. What I discovered will haunt me for the rest of my life. The records that emerged this week contain 1,300 victim testimonies. Let that number sink in for a moment. 1,300 human beings, children, teenagers, young adults whose lives were shattered by a predator and his network of enablers. 1,300 stories of horror that were supposed to stay buried forever. I've read some of these testimonies. They haunt me every night. One victim, identified only as Jane Doe 47, described being brought to a party at age 16, thinking she was attending a modeling audition. Instead, she found herself surrounded by powerful men who treated her like property. Her testimony includes specific details about a former president who seemed comfortable with the arrangement and made jokes about her age. Another testimony from John Doe 23 describes being recruited at age 14 from a group home. He talks about being flown to multiple locations, being photographed in compromising positions with various officials, and being told that if he ever spoke out, no one would believe him because of who was involved. 20 years later, he's finally finding his voice. These aren't just anonymous accounts. Many of these testimonies include corroborating evidence, flight records, photographs, financial transactions, phone records. The FBI has had this evidence for years. They've had names, dates, locations, and witnesses, and they've done nothing. But here's what the mainstream media isn't telling you about these records. They're not just victim testimonies, they're a roadmap that leads directly to the doors of power, to the offices of influence, to the private jets of the untouchable elite. And at the center of this roadmap, photographs that will end careers and possibly topple governments. I'm talking about the Clinton photographs. Now, I know what you're thinking. Cash, we've heard rumors about this for years. Where's the proof? The proof, my friends, is sitting in a vault in Lower Manhattan, cataloged as evidence in what should have been the trial of the century. Photos that show not just presence, but participation. Not just knowledge, but complicity. I remember the exact moment I first learned about these photographs. I was in a secure briefing room, surrounded by classified documents and career intelligence officers who looked like they'd seen ghosts. One of them slid a manila folder across the table. "Before you open this," he said, "understand that what you're about to see changes everything." Inside that folder were metadata reports, digital forensics, and thumbnail images that made my blood run cold. We're talking about timestamps that coincided with official government events. Location data that placed these individuals at the same coordinates as known trafficking operations, and facial recognition software that confirmed identities with 99.7% accuracy. But here's what really struck me. These weren't accidental encounters. The sophistication of the operation, the precision of the documentation, the strategic nature of the compromising positions, this was orchestrated. Someone was building a library of leverage, and our intelligence agencies knew it. But here's the part that should terrify every American. Our own Department of Justice knew about these photos. They had them, they cataloged them, and they buried them. Let me paint you a picture of how this cover-up works. Imagine you're a federal prosecutor. You've got the evidence of the century sitting on your desk. Photos, videos, flight logs, bank records, witness testimonies. You've got enough evidence to bring down a former president, dozens of powerful politicians, and some of the wealthiest people in the world. what do? If you're a normal prosecutor, you file charges. You seek justice for the victims. You follow the evidence wherever it leads, regardless of the consequences. But if you're part of the system, if you understand how power really works in Washington, you make a phone call, you have a quiet meeting, and suddenly that evidence disappears into the bureaucratic abyss. That's exactly what happened with the Epstein case, and I can prove it. During my time in the intelligence community, I had access to documents that most Americans will never see. Communications between DOJ officials and their superiors, emails discussing political sensitivities and collateral damage, memos outlining strategies for controlled disclosure and damage limitation. I'll never forget reading one particular email chain from 2019. A senior DOJ official wrote, "The evidence is overwhelming, but prosecution would create political chaos beyond our ability to manage. Recommend alternative resolution." The response came from even higher up the chain. "Agreed. Coordinate with public affairs for narrative control. This stays buried." That email chain had over 30 participants, 30 federal officials who knew about evidence of crimes against children and collectively decided that political convenience was more important than justice. When I think about those 1,300 victims, when I think about their families still waiting for answers, that email chain haunts me. What these documents revealed was a systematic effort to protect certain individuals at the expense of justice for the victims. They knew about the photographs, they knew about the flight logs, they knew about the island operations, and they made a conscious decision to let it slide. Why? Because Jeffrey Epstein wasn't just a predator, he was an intelligence asset. His operation wasn't just about satisfying his sick desires. It was about collecting compromising material on powerful people. It was a honey trap operation that would make the KGB proud. Let me tell you exactly how this operation worked, because the details matter. Epstein's properties weren't just luxury homes. They were sophisticated surveillance centers. Hidden cameras in every room, recording equipment disguised as artwork, microphones embedded in furniture. His staff weren't just employees. They were trained handlers who knew exactly how to create compromising situations and document them. I've reviewed the technical specifications of these recording systems. We're talking about military-grade equipment, the kind that costs millions of dollars and requires specialized training to operate. This wasn't some amateur operation. This was a professional intelligence gathering network that operated for decades with the full knowledge and protection of our own agencies. The most chilling part? There are records showing that some of these compromising materials were shared with foreign intelligence services. Our own citizens, including government officials, were being blackmailed by hostile nations using evidence collected on American soil by an American asset. That's not just criminal conspiracy, that's treason. And when that operation threatened to expose the very people it was designed to compromise, the system protected itself. The victims, they became collateral damage in a game of power that they never asked to play. But something's changed. The system that protected this network for so long is starting to crack. Whistleblowers are coming forward. Documents are leaking. Victims are finding their voices. And the photos that were supposed to stay buried forever are seeing daylight. I've seen some of these photographs. I can't unsee them. They show powerful men in compromising positions with individuals who are clearly underage. They show casual interactions that reveal long-standing relationships. They show a level of comfort that can only come from repeated exposure. And the most damning part? Some of these photographs were taken at official government functions, campaign events, charity galas, private dinners. This wasn't some secret operation happening in the shadows. This was happening in plain sight, protected by a wall of money, power, and influence. The Clinton photographs are particularly damaging because they span decades. We're not talking about a single moment of poor judgment. We're talking about a pattern of behavior that continued even after Epstein's first conviction, even after the world knew what kind of monster he was. But Bill Clinton isn't the only powerful figure caught in this web. The records show connections to tech billionaires, Hollywood moguls, foreign dignitaries, and yes, current members of Congress. This network was vast, protected, and seemingly untouchable. Until now. You see, the DOJ cover-up is finally unraveling. Internal investigations are being launched. Inspectors general are asking questions. Career prosecutors who were silenced are finally speaking out. And the evidence that was supposed to stay buried is being dragged into the light. This isn't about politics. This isn't about taking down one party or another. This is about justice for 1,300 victims who were told their voices didn't matter. This is about accountability for a system that protected predators and silenced their accusers. This is about ensuring that no one, regardless of their power or influence, is above the law. The road ahead won't be easy. The people we're up against have resources we can't imagine. They have lawyers, fixers, and influence peddlers who will do everything in their power to make this story disappear. They'll attack the messengers. They'll question the evidence. They'll try to discredit the victims. But we have something they don't have. We have the truth. And in America, the truth has a way of winning, even when the odds are stacked against it. The 1,300 victims whose stories are finally being told deserve justice. They deserve accountability. They deserve a system that fights for them instead of fighting against them. And they deserve leaders who will stand up for what's right, even when it's politically inconvenient. That's why I'm asking you to join this fight. Share this story. Demand answers from your representatives. Don't let this get buried again. Because if we stay silent, if we let this moment pass, those 2,300 victims will remain just numbers on a page instead of human beings whose lives were destroyed by monsters and the system that protected them. The Epstein records have erupted. The truth is finally seeing daylight. Now it's up to us to make sure it stays in the light long enough for justice to be served. Subscribe, share, and stand with me. Because this fight is just beginning, and we're going to need all the help we can get to take down the most powerful criminal network in American history. The victims are counting on us. We cannot let them down again.